right, guys, welcome back to some live trading. I know I've been gone for a little bit, but that's because I've been on a ski trip for a very long time now. Anyways, let's get right into it. So today I can see that the overnight session has just been rising. With that being said, I'd like to see New York come in reverse. As you can see, I have the overnight session marked with this rising channel that I put in here. I simply just took my trend like so and then copied that trend line and then moved it to the upper extremity like here. From here, I marked out all the market structure. The one thing I want to show you is this intraday rising trend that I see here. Because the market is making higher highs and higher lows within this short-term trend, I am expecting us to come take out the high of the day and then reverse on that short-term intraday trend, as well as take out the rising channel, maybe even retest it and then continue lower. Now, in terms of earnings reports, there's nothing high beta, so there's nothing really telling me that we're going to have a lot of opening volume. In other words, I'm not expecting too much volatility at the open, so I probably will not be trading pivots today. I'm going to be relying more on orb. As for the FX calendar, I do have a lot of Canadian news. It doesn't really mean too much to me. I do have some orange folder news for the USD, which tells me that there is some volume that's been injected into the market. Nothing too crazy, but I need to send this out into the group. A little bit more of a macro understanding of what's going on, but as you can see, we've been trending down now for a while, so I am expecting to carry out that trend. As you can see, we have this nice little trend line here. We're manipulating that trend and it should continue lower. On top of that, you can view all of the low of the days that are getting taken out here to be breaks of structure to the downside. So we should see another break of structure down here. And that's really it in terms of my pre-market analysis. We have about 2 minutes until the open and we'll do some trading. Now, V1's not been the greatest for the past week. Just is what it is. I am expecting V4 to have better results this week. Nonetheless, let's see. So on our Apex account last week, we were able to just basically stay break even at 55.50. Still in profit on that PA. Looking to possibly get that to pay out this week. Let's see. All right, and the market is open. I'm me eating a banana right now. So I do like that we're already wick rejecting this part of the range right here. Let's see what the 1 minute is telling us. We had this nice little squeeze right here, manipulated that squeeze, basically just riding within this squeeze right here. All right, so it's coming to manipulate the top like I want. We did have a huge wick rejection here. Also been using this version of the orb, as you can see right here. This is with the orb builder, actually. I believe I put this template out into Discord for people to use. I will be trading this today alongside V1 and V4. We want to be risking around $300 today, so I have around 2 units on there. It's looking like my risk is kind of varying around $300 at the moment. If this continues to close up higher than $300, I will lower this down to 1 unit. At the moment, it's relative. In my analysis, I do kind of want to see it manipulate these highs and then move back down, so I am a little scared about these buys, but I'm just going to play what the data says. All right, we're going in some buys. Looks like we didn't quite get that wick rejection. This looks like we've already moved around 25% into profit, so I am going to move my stops just a little bit in. But this might very well just be a retracement to go higher. If you guys don't know the difference between V1 and V4, V1's taking advantage of that opening volume that you guys are seeing right here, whereas V4 kind of waits for that opening volume to develop and then it determines where that range is going to be. V4 over time does have better results, but me being an antsy person, I like trading V1. Just to give you guys an understanding of what I see from a price action perspective, essentially we had this nice wick rejection on the low of the range right here. Then we had this strong impulse, and I basically perceive this to all just be a retracement to move up higher, as I was explaining before. I probably will start managing my risk a little bit more here. So essentially, once we move 1-to-1 around this area, I want to start moving my stops a little bit more. Maybe around this area here, I'll just move them up slightly below this range. The biggest thing to understand is that we are already protected just even a little bit, which is great. Price has moved enough for me to justify that we are going to trail our stop a little bit more. We have now decreased our risk by around 20%, 25%. I do see this massive fair value gap sitting right here. I want to make sure that this holds. If we do start to cross below that fair value gap, that will not be good. If we look a little bit more macro, we are still trading within this upwards trend, as you can see right here, making higher highs and higher lows. Essentially, if we start breaking below the lows of this IFVG here and this low right here, price can easily start reversing and start its new trend back down. On smaller time frames, actually, if like we come into the 30-second, you'll see that this right here is a sweet change of character, fair value gap, mitigation on lower time frames. So it is trying to start a trend lower. We just want to make sure it doesn't continue I am seeing on the 15-minute just huge wick rejections on the high of the day right here. If this also starts closing below the low of the day, but if we do start closing as a stronger candle, then we are likely going to hold. Looks like we're still continuing that bullish market structure, as you guys can see right here. We haven't really deserved this dot yet. We will deserve that dot once we start breaking above these highs, but at the moment I can't really publish that dot yet, and now I can. So now we've officially made a higher low, and we are now forming a higher high. All right. The reason why I'm going, oh, all right, is because this is essentially just building up upwards pressure that would eventually need to get taken out again. We are hitting that first line that I drew in before, so I do want to start moving my stops right below that low of the range like I was talking about before. They're now officially probably around, or decreased probably around 30% of our risk. Let's take a look at that fifth. So that 15-minute candle, as you can see, closed really, really strong. So that's why we're still in this position. If it did close as a wick rejection, I probably would have either moved my stops relatively to break even, or I would have closed out completely. But right now, I'm liking the way the price action is looking on the 15-minute. It's looking like we're going to continue this bullish structure. So we're going to stay in. Price is looking very efficient on the 5-minute. We're not leaving any gaps. And my girlfriend just got me Starbucks. What a boring day this is today. Just a straight chop fest, to be honest. It is drifting upwards, but it's still ranging to some degree. We do have bullish market structure, but it is ranging in that bullish market structure. All right, we are making those new highs right here. Again, we got to be cautious of this low. Hope that we protect within this POI. This is a little rising wedge. Don't get me wrong. If we start closing below these lows down here, we can still go short. That's the beauty of breakouts. Real quick though, I mean, look at the equity curve for that. That is nice. It's got a very quick break even, which is why you don't see very much loss. If you do notice in the red here, we do hit some losing streaks though, but the equity curve still remains to be pretty linear. We couldn't have asked for a slower day. Once this probably gets to be around 10:30, we might start closing out the position just because of time decay. In other words, our expected value always goes down as time goes on, just based on data and statistics. It would be smart to close out. At this point, if we start crossing above these highs here, which we are doing now, I can now clarify or understand that this is now a higher low to becoming a higher high. That means I'm going to move now my stops to around 50%, right below this low here. And we have now decreased our risk by 50%. I want to do a slight update of the position. We got about 15 more minutes that I'm most likely going to stay in this, but the one thing I'm disliking is that the momentum is slowing down a little bit. We have this wick rejection coming right here, and you can see the candles basically come to a slowdown. So we're going to see how the next 15-minute candle really forms, and depending on that formation, will determine whether or not we stay in this through 10:30 or not. All right, I do want to check real quick to see if we're moving almost 1-to-1 here. Looks like we are, so I am going to move my stops just around 75%, probably a little bit around this low here. So we are now very well protected on this position. So for this 15-minute candle closer, we do need to be closing realistically above these highs for me to stay in, especially post 10:30 a.m. Eastern. If we close majority as a wick, that will tell me that we have a slowdown in the bullish pressure. Most likely just move my stops into a trail here. All right, so it looks like we have finally made that 10:30 close, and we are closing right in here. With that being said, I am going to go ahead and move my stops basically to break even now, because price can reverse, as you are seeing right here, and that is a break even. Honestly, not too bad of a day whatsoever. Price was very, very slow. You can see now it's starting to melt off, but we'll take it. As long as you're protecting and managing risk, that's all that matters.